What's up, everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mardek. And of course, last time we found the fairy village in Lifewood, and we're gonna head back into Dreamwood in order to head up the northern route this time. We heard that there are a few things that we ought to investigate further in the forest here, and we've not yet been through the Dreamwood section of this area, so let's take a closer look as to what we might find. It does look similar thus far, and of course we will run into some forgotten faces every now and again, and it seems like Dolores Sturge has been an amazing addition for Elwian, at least thus far. When you combine that with the damage that we're dealing with other characters against these defensive enemies, it's been tough to take them out, but having some reliable damage from Dolores Sturge has typically been enough to finish them off. However, Slinick there missing the target does mean that, well, does get the chance to get a hit in here and attack Elwian, no less. Mardek can't quite finish it off. Elwian could deliberately, actually actively use the skill Dolores Sturge again. We could, of course, just opt to press the pass button and she would continue using the skill. However, this way we make a point of making sure that she gets another use out of it and masters it more quickly. As for Sharla, this should be enough. It is. So Elwian did take a hit there, unfortunately. We probably should heal her, just in case. She already has relatively low HP to begin with. So, let's keep on making our way through here. And we find that nothing of note yet in this area. Here is the first chest, and it's an amethyst, a colored variety of quartz, usually used to adorn jewelry or armor. It's suspiciously believed to protect from intoxication, but this has never been proven in the slightest. This is the type of gem that we've seen once before. I believe we picked it up in the Sun Temple, and then we got earrings of the amethyst variety in Aeropolis. And that is key, because it is the item that gives us the clarity, meaning confusion immunity skill, in addition to a passive 30% resistance to confusion, but that isn't like some other of the status immunity items that give you not only the skill, but also guaranteed 100% resistance, so we would need to use clarity in order to ensure that we're not getting confused. And if we learned anything from fighting all of the fairies and pixies, confusion is tough. So, say if we were to put it on Slinick, who at the moment was thrown on the Belt of Movement, mostly just for some additional agility, which was not strictly necessary per se. Feels like that might be a good fit, especially when we know that Slinick being confused and potentially attacking our own party members, that is a scary sight. So, I think that is worthwhile to put it on him. However, he is, well, was using antibody. However, I was gonna say we might not have enough RP to make this work here with clarity, but take off antibody, put on clarity, I think that is definitely worthwhile. So let's do that, and let's move on here. And as we make our way further into Dreamwood, is there anything down here? There appears to be at least one, in fact maybe two chests. More Ether Essence, which is tough to come by, so that's a big pickup there, I think. And a Wisp Stone? I don't think we've seen this yet. This sliver of a gem is very light, almost without substance. It seems to be made from crystallized ectoplasm. Let's take a closer look at that. So, it has the Quarry Spirit offensive physical reaction. And of course, we are fighting a lot of spirits these days, so that could be quite helpful to pick that up. In addition to a little bit of Ether resistance, 10% is not going to be a game changer. And then Power's Ether, again, not going to do much of anything. So, might there be someone who could squeeze this on? Mardek, we were mostly using miscellaneous items here to just stack up a little bit of additional earth resistance, which is relevant when we're in Lifewood, not as relevant when we're in Dreamwood, so this might be a reasonable fit for you. It does take 20 uses to master Quarry Spirit, which is not a crazy amount, but it's not 10 either. It's about middle of the road, so it'll take a little while, but I think we can probably swap up the green beads, at least for now, in favor of learning Quarry Spirit, and that probably means getting rid of Quarry Undead. Don't think there are any undead enemies here, so No worries there. So that seems like a good fit. Let's carry on then. And so we have some whims, and just to confirm, they are technically figments, I believe, not spirits. So in this case, that does mean that Mardek will not be getting extra damage against them, but we'll have to keep an eye out as to whether any of the other enemies in this area might fall under that category. And Dolores Sturge, I don't think quite does enough damage by itself to take these guys out in one hit, but if you pair that with some lightning bolts, I think it will. It does. And that is why it has been such a big difference maker for us. Getting to the point where we are taking out enemies before they can even take a turn. Compare that to previously, when we were finding enemies were regularly downing one of our allies by the end of the fight, and we had to heal or revive them. So, glad to be through with that, at least seemingly. This is a long pathway here. We'll have to take another look at our map once we get back out of this fight. But more whims and forgotten faces. Let's keep up the Dolores Sturge. No reason to stop now. Likewise with the lightning bolts. And so the whims are down. The forgotten face will still have a chance to take a turn here. Attack Slinick. Mardek. Not going to deal a ton of damage here, but chance to master up that quarry spirit at least a little bit. So, Slinick, you, however, can finish things off. So no issues there. And if we double check, we will find that there is a way to go through to the next area if we were to go through this door here. However, there is another chest and there's another dream circle over here. So let's investigate further. It seems like there's definitely more to explore in this direction. As for what exactly we might find on the other side of that dream circle, I'm not sure. Let's use Dolores Sturge again. This is, of course, the same set of enemies that we were fighting previously. So that means Whim should go down. Forgotten Face will have the chance to take a turn and deals a reasonable amount of damage to Elwie, and of course, won't have enough time to get in another attack, I would assume. Between Mardek, Slinick, and another round of Dolores Sturge, this guy's definitely going to go down. Does have 4 HP left, which is actually not terrible, because that does mean that Elwyn can take another chance to use Dolores Sturge. And Charla, I thought you were still working on one of your offensive reactions. We might have done some gear swapping that made it so that that's no longer the case, but you can do that. And take out the Forgotten Face with the Dolores Sturge. And I think that was Elwian who leveled up there. However, I think it was an odd level, which means she definitely did not pick up any RP there. So nothing to double check on that front. Just a Forgotten Face this time. So this should be a fair bit easier. If we just target the face specifically with Charla. More damage, yes, but still not enough to take it out with one round of Dolores Sturge. So, again, not terrible. It means that Mardek gets a chance to work on his offensive reaction. And Mardek masters double gold, finally. He has done it. So, that is huge because, as you remember, this takes 10 RP. So that is big to get that mastered. Of course, it's helpful to get additional gold, but we've had this active for a long time now, so I think we could put it back on at a later date if we find that we really need more gold, but for the time being, let's focus on other things. We could, for example, put on 20% HP, and maybe, if we were to get rid of 10% HP, take note that that now means that we are at 10 RP remaining, which does mean that Mardek could start to use the other extremely difficult skill to learn, that being double AP from the Evening Star. We saw it previously, and we said we can't combine it with the double gold from the Regal Crown because that would be 20 RP total, and Mardek just does not have that at this stage. But this is the skill that allows you to master other skills at twice the rate, actually including this skill as well, so it says 200, but effectively it'll take 100 battles to learn it. So I think what we do here is we swap out the Emerald Bangle in favor of the Evening Star. And we saw previously the Evening Star stats, they aren't fantastic, but that ability is very unique, double AP. So let's throw that on, and then, oh, except we were getting the plus 20% HP from that Emerald Bangle, so that would mean that we wouldn't be able to work on another passive skill at the moment, which is unfortunate, but as soon as Mardek masters Quarry Spirit, then we could throw it back on, and he would, of course, master Quarry Spirit at twice the usual rate, using double AP, so maybe that's not the end of the world either. It does, however, free up an Emerald Bangle, and we had Slinik using the Sapphire Bangle, which gave him some extra spirit, which is actually okay at this stage, because he's using his fair share of Fire Breath. However, for the most part, I think the Emerald Bangle is going to be more effective, especially when we're in the Lifewood version of this force, because some extra Earth resistance, well, tell you the truth, normally would be useful. However, bear in mind, he's still using the Geo Jacket, so he's got plenty of Earth resistance right now. So, maybe we do, in that case. Keep on the Sapphire Bangle. Let's just double check everyone's skills here. Mardek should still be fine with double AP, but has 6 to spare now, because we aren't using plus 20% HP. So we could throw on 10% and something else on top of that, or I think Clarity might be very helpful. Maybe we go that route instead. And with our remaining 2, just throw on the Agility. Slinik, after we move some of those abilities around, you're also working on Clarity, and you're still working on Resist Earth. I think that is perfectly fine. Not enough RP to do plus 20% MP. That's okay. I think these things are still top priority. Having both Mardek and Slinik immune to confusion, I think that is crucial, because those are the two, as we were saying previously, that are most dangerous when they do get confused. So, a few things of note here. There's the Dream Circle over there. There is treasure over here, some ether, and then a cave. And if we check this out, it has a chest. I don't know, one chest in a cave. I feel like there is a certainly non-zero chance that this is actually a battle. No, it is the silver cord, an ethereal silver cord that can be usually seen linking an astrally wandering spirit to its body. Severing it causes that person to be unable to return to their body. That is, they die. So, that, I believe, if we double-check some of our quests here, was one of the items that we needed in order to complete the Soul Cage quest, the one for combining the Metal Man body with a soul from the Soul Plane. So that is one of the reasons why we were going through Lifewood here, so that's great to pick that up. Then, now that we've done that, let's maybe go through this here. Oh! I would have said the Dream Circle there. Or we could Dolores Dirge. Oh, Charla was stunned or paralyzed from the previous fight, and I completely forgot to take note of that. Should have removed it. It would have been the difference between taking out that whim and not taking out that whim. So, Mardek here, you have certainly more opportunity to work on your Quarry Spirit. Obviously, you'd have more than enough damage to get the whim here, but maybe we focus on the Forgotten Face for the time being, because it has far more HP, and a Dolores Surge will definitely be enough to take out the whim. Forgotten Face? I forget. It might be that Dolores Surge is dealing 138 damage right now. It's right around there, and we're about to find out. It's 136. This guy's going to survive with 1 HP. And enough of a chance to hit Mardek and add a stun, no less. So, I suppose in some ways we get a defensive reaction, which I do think Mardek is also working on right now, but also prevents him from using his offensive reaction on his next turn, because he gets skipped with the paralysis, so win some, you lose some. Let's take out the Forgotten Face, though, and remember to get rid of those paralysis. Paralysis? What's the plural of paralysis? I don't know. But anyways, we'll get rid of them. In fact, that might have been the very defensive reaction that Mardek needed to master that skill. So that is key, because that does mean that now Mardek could unequip the Iron Armor, which is great in terms of raw defense, but we were mostly using it for the minus 30 defense reaction there. So we'll take it off, and then we'll have to see what other alternatives he has there. Also, similarly, the Regal Crown, Mardek has mastered the double gold ability. So he's done there. What might we put on in its place? We might need to go back to the save crystal in order to find some better alternatives here. Mardek, I'm pretty sure, yes, has learned all the abilities from the Slovakian plate mail, so he's fine there. You've mastered resist water, right? Yeah, he has. Nothing from the snake mail that he still needs, so that's not a concern. I think that for the most part, Mardek has... Well, actually, he may not have done the evasion reaction. He has. So yeah, I think he is just about done with all the abilities on the items that we have here from chest plates, because, of course, with him always being in the party, he's generally going to be ahead of other people in terms of various skills. So maybe for that reason we keep on the iron armor. Might not be the worst idea. As for the helmet, we could opt to throw on something other than the crown. If we had one of those skull helmets right now, then we could potentially throw that on instead. But I think those are also either stored at the save crystal or in someone else's inventory. So for that reason, I think we'll just stick with the crown for the time being. And I was just thinking, why don't we go through this dream circle here and at least see what this does for us. So it will give us access to what I believe is an area that we would not have otherwise had access to in Lifewood here. A more northerly area. Oh dear. Couple of purple mantids here. Been a while since we last saw them, but they hit hard, of course, and they do go after Elwian here. So we could use Dolores Sturge, and it will, of course, deal a little bit of damage. It's not going to be terribly significant when it comes to the purple mantids, at least, because it's going to be, what, maybe 15% of their total HP? We'll do it, no less, because she does, of course, still need to. But they will definitely get the chance to take their turns here. So that's the difference between... Oh, and did we forget to... We forgot to remove the paralysis. I said, let's make a point of removing the paralysis, and then I forgot. Fortunately, Mardek was still able to take his turn here. So, we could use a motion potion. And who ought we prioritize here? Removing the paralysis from Mardek or Charla? Charla would be able to use the lightning bolt on everyone, take out the leaf stingers. However, she's already missed her turn this time round, so I think that by the time she gets to go again, the leaf stingers would probably already go down by Dolores Sturges. So I think we pass on Charla and instead prioritize Mardek here. Does, of course, sacrifice a turn in order to do that. As for Slinnik, I'm not sure we've tried using Fire Breath on any of these guys. Well, the purple mantids do have 200% resistance to fire, so maybe that has something to do with it. And for that reason, yeah, why don't we go for a normal attack instead? And remember, these mantids will, of course, react. And Slinnik is not using his strongest weapon against these guys, at least. We swapped over to a lower base damage weapon in order to get the light elemental component to it, but that's not so relevant against the mantids. For them, it would be better to just go with straight up damage. More Dolores Sturge should be enough to take out at least the leaf stingers at their next turn. Not the mantids, though. So, one way to get rid of paralysis is like that. Just have your character go down, they'll come back at the end of the battle, they won't have paralysis anymore. Save the motion potion. So we should be able to take out this purple mantid here. I'm pretty sure Mardek has enough damage to do that. Mardek, okay, you do. It was kind of close. As for Slinnik, I think we've established that you would not be able to take this guy out unless you say crit, but you will get a reaction in. That means people are rather alarmingly low here, in fact. Elwian almost went down to poison. Another Dolores Sturge, which is not enough to take out the purple mantid by itself. That will require a little more direct intervention. There's the crit. And 3 people remaining. Mardek is doing okay in terms of life. Elwian, Slinnik, not so much, and Charla, definitely not. So let's take a minute here to maybe do a little bit of damage control. So we'll heal up. Darla, Hellion, Clinic. Let's remove the poisons as well. Okay. And now maybe we start headed up further north. See what else we can find in Lifewood here. More chests, including a Leaf of Life, which might also be one of those regents we can theoretically get from shamans, though we haven't bought any yet, or very few if we have. It's some kind of giant leaf, possessing the essence of life force. Sounds useful. So let's carry on. And when we do, find ourselves in another battle. Another purple manted. This one, a little bit of a different setup though. Couple of strong enemies, yes, but at least it's only one purple manted this time, and not two. Charla, of course, will have the opportunity to actually participate in this fight, which is a bit of a notable difference from the previous one. Fortunately, the Axolotl misses there. And Mardek, you probably could take out the Axolotl here. I think you go for the Mantid, though, because you will proc the reaction. Oh, I missed the offensive reaction. I was going to say, you have stronger defenses than Slinik. So if someone is going to take the reaction from the purple Mantid, it might as well be Mardek. And then have Slinik take the safer option, going after the Axolotl. And Dolores Dirge again, of course. And Fire Slash, we actually haven't seen too much of that. And then, sure, we can Lightning Bolt specifically at the purple Mantid. Still not gonna quite be enough for Dolores Sturge to take it out, so Mardek, finish it off here. Okay. And as we continue on here, we see that this is actually very similar to what we saw in the Dreamwood version. In fact, I'm pretty sure we saw a northern route that we did not initially opt to go through in Dreamwood, so that remains unexplored. However, in Lifewood, we can go through up here. There is also perhaps another way to wrap around here. When we did that in Dreamwood, it brought us to the Fairy City. Maybe this time around, we'll find something else in the Lifewood version. Bitter Leaf, again, I think is one of those items we can get from shamans. It's a stinking bitter herb, often used in poisons and acids. It's a little concerning. Okay, carrying on. And wrapping around down here. Only furry biters. I think this is probably going to be one of our easiest battles thus far in Lifewood, because while we can't be sure to take them out with Dolores Dirge alone, combining that with the Lightning Bolts, oh, that's not enough either. Unfortunately, and Elwian, we didn't heal her up all the way in between fights, and well, you know, it turns out that was a bit of a difference maker. We probably should have made a point of doing that, at least in hindsight. So we'll maybe just, you know, wait until the end of this fight to do that, and I suppose I'm eating my words now, saying that this was going to be an easy fight. Ultimately, it was. It just so happens that the enemy just so happened to target our person who was not on full life and is already the weakest person that we have. She did, however, master Dolores Dirge, so that is great. That does mean that we could swap it off. So I do think she still has Runic Rhapsody, which she's not yet mastered, which is the magic defensive song that she can play. Not necessarily sure we're going to want to start using it all that often, because Dolores Dirge has been so effective for us, but it at least gives us that option. Now we heal. And maybe we heal twice, just to get her up to max HP, just in case. So, if we look at our map here, it looks like this is actually going to bring us around and into a cave area. Let's explore a little bit further, make sure that there isn't anything blocking us from doing so. It is available to us, however, I'm deliberately going to forego entering this cave for the time being. We'll try to make a mental note to revisit it at a later date. Likewise, for the Dreamwood version of the northern area here. However, okay, we've seen furry fighters before, yes, but lovely elf? What? It's a goblinoid. It has fairly high magical defense and some resistances across the board except for to dark. Okay, so that's a thing, apparently. Like I was saying, I think for the most part, let's keep Dolores Dirge active. It's gonna be hard to make a case for doing anything other than that, it would seem, since it's been so good to us. And Elf Dust Tackle is what we see the elf do there, and there we see that Dolores Dirge plus Lightning Bolt was enough to take out all of the rules that time, fortunately. And Mardek, you do have a light attack here. This guy is resistant to light, but fortunately does not heal to it, so we're still okay to attack. And can deal enough damage to take him out. Okay. So, odd, but we'll keep on moving here. We'll head up in the northerly direction and go through that other door. And what I was saying is, we'll also make a note of doing that in the Dreamwood version as well. Here is a rogue fairy, and oh, I missed that reaction. So unlike the pixie, who hit us with a bunch of confusion at the beginning, this fairy hit us with a bunch of sleep. Fortunately, Elvian was asleep and then immediately woke up, so we can use Dolores Dirge, which was extremely effective against the pixie. Hopefully we'll find the same thing here, and combine that with a lightning bolt, and it is much simpler of a fight. We know how tricky that can be, so that is a sigh of relief to see that go so quickly. Let's head up through here. And we've not yet been this far north. What? Okay, music has changed, notably. And here is the fairy, who we, I believe, have seen previously.
Tee-hee-hee. The forest is large. I can help you to travel to places you've been.
So, here we see we could warp back to the entrance, or we can stay here for the time being. Let's stay here. This was the fairy I was saying it would be fantastic if it could take us to the fairy village as well, because that's sort of on the far western side, but we'll stay here for now. And there's a save crystal. That probably means we should save and heal. What is the significance of that? Typically that means we're about to run into some kind of significant fight. Let's take a look at our map. We see there's one NPC here, which is the fairy we just spoke to, and someone or something up there next to a door. What do we have here? I think I recognize that guy. It's Murius, the bandit chief from the beginning of Chapter 2, who we spared, but we said, we'll be merciful this time, but don't you dare even think about committing those crimes again. Who the devil are you?
Well, hey, you're that bandit chief from the mines that we let go free. I hope you didn't become a bandit again.
Well... you're one of those soldiers from Chapter 2. I mean, from the gem mine incident. I lost a lot of good men to your blades. But I am no longer Bandit Chief. Really, your facial expression says otherwise. No, I changed my ways, just like you told me to, yes. I wouldn't want to die by your hand after all. Now I am, a treasure hunter. Yes. Okay. Are those two mutually exclusive, though? I hunt for ancient treasures and relics now, you see. Not for my own personal gain either. No. I've forgotten about finding the magical crystals I have spent my life fantasizing about and feeling mysteriously drawn to, and now I merely collect ancient trinkets to display in museums for the bright, hungry eyes of lovely little children. You must believe me. I mean, he is smiling, right? So, sure. Well, I'm glad you've changed and become good now. Yes, there's nothing I like more than seeing the smiles on those children's faces after getting back from a long, selfless trek into dangerous ruins. Yeah. Well, anyway, now that you're here, friend, and now that you know that I'm no longer evil, perhaps you can be useful to me. I mean, perhaps we can help each other? I mean, perhaps you can do me a favor. I mean, whatever sounds least selfish and evil. You know. totally sounds like a genuine guy, right? He's changed his ways. In my treasure hunting that I for sure do, I stumbled upon this runestone fragment. It is a fragment of a runestone, I imagine, with an earth element glyph etched into it. I did some research and found out that it is a key to this temple here, the Earth Temple, where the Earth Crystal sleeps. Ah, okay. So we did, of course, suspect that the Earth Crystal would be somewhere in Lifewood, and it certainly looks like this is a large building with some dramatic pillars and a big door and what looks like the Earth symbol directly above that. Dare I say, its keystone? The temple has been left undisturbed for decades, since the means to get inside was mysteriously lost. So it is certain that there are all kinds of trinkets and baubles inside that I can retrieve to show to the kittywinks. Smiles and all that, you see. But my predicament is this. A fragment is a fragment, not a whole. You cannot open a lock with half a key. Do you understand this, my mentally gifted friend? Well, do you mean that you can get in if you have the other fragments? Yes, that is what I mean. Your deductive skills are astounding. It looks to me that the runestone was sundered in twain in a very bisective manner, if you follow my drift. That is to say, it was broken in half. There is likely only one other fragment needed to complete the stone. I've been searching for this other fragment for some time, but as of yet, to no avail. I was wondering whether it was near the temple, which is why I'm here. If you come across it, be a dear and bring it to me. Then we can both get inside and bring those smiles to the faces of those temporarily challenged members of our dear, dear race. Okay, so Murius, the one-time bandit chief, now turned good guy and benevolent treasure hunter, wants us to give him the other half of a key so that he can get into the Earth Temple to uncover more of these trinkets to make the world a better place. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay, so with that, of course we have not found said piece just yet, and I'm not necessarily sure where we might find it. However, we have of course determined that there is at least one or two other areas in this spot that we want to revisit. One of them, of course, being the equivalent of this spot right here, however, in the Dreamwood, and the other being that other cave that we saw. There is also one other place that we probably want to check out, that being the eastern side of Lifewood, except the Dreamwood version of that. Remember, we saw the shaman there previously, however, we've not yet seen what we might find in the Dreamwood version of that, so we'll have to check that out, but I think with that, that is probably a good place for us to wrap up here. What else is there to uncover in this ginormous forest? Only time will tell.